Laverne Planning Commission, March 29th, 2011, regular meeting, 6 p.m. This meeting is called to order. Proper quorum has been determined. We have approval of minutes for February 22nd, 2011.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as submitted.
Have a motion to approve minutes has been submitted. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Staff, are we going to follow the agenda? Do you have any?
Yes, sir.
Okay. First, we have old business. First, we have a final plat, Lakewood Phase 7-2, Lot 8.36 acres, property located at the intersection of Stone River Road and Hollandale Road, tax map 6, parcel 16 and 23.01, R2 zoning district, property owned by Adnan Shribnan and Tal Shribnan. Staff?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. This item has been on the agenda for a few months now. The engineer's working on some real estate issues with this, from what I understand, and they are trying to work toward getting a resubmittal into us. But as of right now, they haven't been able to get some of their issues worked out, and they wish to defer again.
Okay, this matters request for deferral. Number 2, we have a recommendation to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, acceptance of Woodsong Subdivision Phase 1, 2, and 3.
Yes, sir. This item, the developer still has some issues to work out in order to be accepted, and there are still a few things that are required that need to be done. So this also needs to be deferred.
Okay, items deferred. Recommendation to the Board of Aldermen, to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, amendment Article 2, Section 2.020, and Article 5, Section 5.052, 053, and 054 of the Laverne zoning ordinance regarding permitted use of special exception.
Mr. Chairman, this is an item that we've been working on for a few months now. Tennessee Fair Housing Council had contacted the city attorney about changing our zoning ordinance. We had an ordinance from 1997, and this changes some of those uses that were changed at that time. Also, as part of this ordinance, we've taken the opportunity to try to address several other items in areas that cause issues for codes enforcement, and we looked at updated definitions and specifying some of the uses that are within our ordinance.
A question for staff. Is there any changes made for our workshop, or is it the same 18 pages?
It's the same, yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a recommendation to pass the favourable recommendation to Mayor and Alderman as submitted.
I have a recommendation for a favorable recommendation to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Properly second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the motion carries for a favorable recommendation. On to new business. Motion to grant a 1-year preliminary extension to Pinnacle Point Phase 3.
Mr. Chairman, this is an item that was a preliminary plat that was approved in 2007. Due to the economy and several other factors, I think, for the developer, they've run into some issues with getting the development started, and they're requesting another preliminary plat extension for 1 year.
Question from the board?
Chairman, we discussed it at the workshop, and I'll make a motion to grant a 1-year extension to Pinnacle Point Phase 3.
Okay, I have a motion to grant the request for one-year preliminary plat. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries for a preliminary plat extension of 1 year. Next, we have a recommendation to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, Amendment Article 2, Section 2.020, Article 4, Section 4.04, and Article 5, Sections 5054 and 5052 to the Vergne ordinance regarding recycling usage.
Yes, sir, this is an ordinance to change some things to add recycling of household items to the zoning ordinance. And currently, it's only addressed in the I3 zoning district, and it's generically in there as waste disposal. And this proposed ordinance puts specific types of recycling as permitted uses in I1 and I2 districts, and it also includes heavy development standards for these type of uses in those zones. So, including like we proposed any property that abuts a commercial or industrial district, these type of uses would have to have a fence and several other things that have to keep the property clean, and everything would need to be inside the building, with the exception of mobile recycling, up to 2 mobile recycling units, and a dumpster to be specifically used for trash service. And these requirements in zoning, they're very similar to what Murfreesboro and Metro Nashville have. And I've included, this is the zoning chart for Murfreesboro. What they have actually for recycling, a recycling center in their ordinance is allowed in their heavy industrial and light industrial districts, and it's actually included as a special exception in their commercial highway zone. So it's very similar to what they include in their ordinance, as well as the development standards that they have.
And I want to just make certain that when we talk about recycling, it is simply plastic, cardboard, and aluminum. We
Yes.
don't have the scrap metal or any of that will be permitted in the I-1 and I-2.
Correct. And this is something we've looked at since the workshop, and I had sent everyone an email about that, just to make sure that this is specified in depth. And recyclable materials only include, per our ordinance, aluminum cans, plastic, glass, paper, and cardboard. So any other items would not be considered recyclable materials. So that would be in some other category. We would have to define that and put that in a different zoning class.
Are there any other questions from the board?
So in I2, in the workshop, we're discussing item C, use permitted as special exceptions. That's not included in this?
I'm sorry, I didn't.
On the workshop, we had a 12-page document we were reviewing. Now we seem to have shrunk down some pages here, so we're not including uses permitted as special exception in I2?
Right. I was looking at the ordinance, and since the special exceptions weren't being changed on either the I-1 or I-2, I didn't include those in the actual ordinance that's being presented. So the only thing that's actually being changed is the definition section, the adding the development standards for collection centers and recycling centers, and then in I-1, just the permitted use addition, and then in I-2, just the permitted use addition.
Were there any other questions from the board?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm still a little intrigued here. On our, presently, as we submit the I2 permitted uses for special exceptions, we have 4 items. The workshop we had added 5 through 13. So we're trying to keep it to the original I2 special exceptions. So you're not going to add the additional ones we discussed at the workshop?
That's actually, as part of the other ordinance, we had changed some things with the housing ordinance, but that we discussed a few items back, but with this ordinance, the only thing that's affected are the permitted uses, so the special exceptions aren't affected as part of this ordinance.
I have a question though. He did bring up a very, very good point. Do you think we should list these in the I-1s and I-2s as special exceptions so we can keep up with it? I mean, that would give us a little more idea of what's going on, where it's going, and when it's going. I mean, that would just be simply moving it to special exceptions as opposed to in the normal permitted uses.
Yeah, I just have some concerns that somebody will think recycling is more than what we think it is.
And that way we can, it would have
Just
to
have
come
to take a look
before
at it, yeah.
that would give us the option to review it and keep up with it.
Well, if it comes as a special exception, though, it would go to Boardroom, wouldn't it?
Right, but we still would know
Okay,
what was going on with that. They would have to let it be known
okay.
to a board, and we would know what's going on and really make sure that it is what it says it is. And that's just I mean, could we make a I guess it's an attorney question, make a motion that we accept it, but we want it under special exceptions, except, can I do that in a motion form?
I wouldn't see a problem with that, just to,
We're not
I think that-
changing the verbiage, we're simply moving it under special exceptions
Right.
as opposed to permitted.
I don't see a problem with that.
And that way, I just feel like that still gives us just a little more grip on what's coming in. So we really get used to this recycling, and I know it's the going thing now, but that, keep a little closer eye on.
The way it's set up now, Grant, because we've made the motion to, or face in a vote recommendation for the housing, that covers the additional items.
Yes, it covers several other items that kind of play in are related to this ordinance as well. So that's correct.
So would we have to make a motion to amend this and then vote on it then, or how would that be?
Well, I think you just need to make a motion to,
Because we've not
for the
accepted.
way that you want it to make the recommendation. Yes.
So my wording should be the recommendation with changes for the amendment to special exception.
Right. That they go into I-1, I-2 zones under the special exceptions.
I think you already have it, providing when it comes to Mount Auburn, you do them in the correct sequence. If you do the first one, we use the housing uses, and then you do this one, it'll keep things sequentially correct. And the special exceptions on the second one are non-applicable because it's in the first one that you do.
You have that
Does that make sense?
No, I understand what you're saying. Yeah. You're wanting to move on page 5, number 18. You want to put that under C, special exceptions,
Correct.
in addition to the ones that are listed in the previous ordinance.
Which technically they wouldn't have
Well,
moved for this one anyway.
Effectively, the additions will be the same.
Right. 'Cause we're just going to put what the addition is. We're not going to put, rewrite the whole
Right.
section again. So, yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, just rather than having them in I-1 and I-2 as permitted uses, they would be special exceptions.
Special exceptions, that's it. That way we can control it.
Any other questions? Well, the way I'm gonna say this is recommendation to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen with the recommended changes to the I-1, I-2 for amendments to special exception. Does that sound acceptable?
As discussed.
As discussed.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make that motion.
Okay, I have a motion to accept the recommendation. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All
Abstain
opposed?
from this vote.
We have, can
Aye.
I have a
I
roll
said that.
call?
Aye.
Let's have a roll call on it.
Aye.
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 Aye?
Aye.
Abstain.
Okay, we have an exception, we have a recommendation and exception with one extension from the recommendation, and the motion carries. Recommendation to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, rezoning request Blair Oaks, tax map 32, parcel 6.02, 6.7 acres. Current zoning is R1, low-density residential. Proposed zoning, R3, high-density residential. Property owned by Dr. William Nash. Zach?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. The applicant on this item, I believe, after the workshop, had decided to withdraw the item.
Items withdrawn. Okay, at this point, we usually will go to to the bonds and letters of credit, but at this point, I'd like to take a slight detour and have Mr. Grant, since usually Kyle would be taking care of this, we want to know why Kyle is not here. So we want to have Mr. Grant tell us why Kyle's not here.
Kyle and his wife had a baby girl this morning at 10 o'clock, and she's 7 pounds, 12 ounces, and 20 and a half inches long.
Congratulations.
Mr. Chairman, while you're diverting, we have a very special guest in the audience with us tonight. We have our new city administrator, Mr. Steve Mayer, who is visiting with us tonight.
Mr. Mayor, how are you doing?
Fine, sir. How are you tonight? Appreciate being here.
You didn't have anything to do with Kyle's child being born today. Okay, bonds and letters of credit update.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. There's several of the sections have been extended by, I think Kyle's been keeping up with that pretty well. There are a few that are coming up that Cedar Grove and some of these other ones that Kyle's been working very hard on getting the everything in place to try to get all that taken care of. We do have, I believe, one coming up in May that appears to be the closest one, and for phases 74 to 75 of Lake Forest, and I think that'll be, should have no problem getting that letter of credit extended.
Any questions from the board? Meeting's adjourned.